Just woke up from a nap. My name's Mare. Welcome to another episode of the Mareathon. Life's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Lace up and subscribe today. This video, I just wanted to start out by apologizing. It was supposed to go up on Saturday, but I'll explain to you why it didn't. I posted a video last week, and in it I just briefly touched on something, and then I got a comment followed by a few more comments requesting to do a whole video on this topic. So the question was, hi, can you do a video on something you touched on in this one? I'm very triggered by my daughter getting sick. I panic and have a hard time staying calm and in a rational headspace. What are a few things that help you? And then there was some more people saying that they feel anxious when their kids aren't well. And so I thought I would just touch on it today. But what was interesting was I was supposed to film this on Friday, but Friday I ended up spending 3 hours in the walk-in with Thomas. I was like, oh, this is such like fortuitous timing. So it gave me real life experience and time to reflect on what I actually do. So I do definitely have a bit of PTSD from Thomas's health history. If you're unfamiliar, he was born with hearing loss that is progressive. And so his hearing has always been bad. Like, he's had hearing aids since he was 3 months old, but then it got worse on his left side and he had to get a cochlear implant when he was 3. And then that same year, a few months later, he was diagnosed with autism. And his health could be, I mean, there's still definitely a chance for things to go sideways and be scary, but I feel like the worst is behind us. So, you know, there was some like emergency situations where we had to take him to the hospital or down to Children's Hospital every 8 weeks when he was getting his implant. If he gets sick, I have to be super mindful of him if he gets an ear infection, of treating it right away, because he could lose his hearing in his right ear, or if the infection were to get really bad and I was not on top of it, he could lose his implant. If he hits his head, he could lose his implant. So there's just a lot, and in the first few years it was very stressful, and it was compounded by my late husband's anxiety. So everything was just like really amped, and so there was a lot of like levels of having to deal with stuff. Thomas's health, Jeremy's anxiety, trying to just keep everything together, and a lot of that fell on me. So I definitely developed a bit of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, when it comes to Thomas's health, and worked on it very diligently in therapy, and done some like very specific techniques to help myself. So that has helped me for sure, talking about it and doing very specific therapy to know that no matter what happens, and no matter Thomas's health or my health, I got this, we got this. Like, I know that there's nothing I can't handle. And this last year has definitely been a testament to that. Excuse me, not with Thomas's health, but with Jeremy's passing. So some things that I do that I really noticed in the last week was, you know, he started to get a cold, and for most parents that's like not a big deal, but for me, I instantly think of like, oh, what if he has an ear infection and he can't tell me? And you know, it just like goes on and on. And so this is what I find. I, like many people, can go to the worst possible case scenario, and this could, you know, relate to anything that happens in your life, whether it's your kids being sick or something. You know how like a lot of us automatically will go to like that worst possible case. So when Thomas started getting a cold last week, my worst case was like ear infection, gonna have to spend lots of time at the walk-in clinic. I'm not gonna be able to go out this weekend because last night I had an overnight respite for 24 hours, which I've been planning for like months. I'm not gonna be able to go to California next week. Like, you know, it just amps up and up and up and up, and like gonna have to go to Children's Hospital. So what I do is I kind of like allow myself to go to that worst possible case scenario and then just ask myself, then what? Like, what if? Like, okay, he has an ear infection. You take him to the walk-in, you sit there, you calmly just like, you know that you have to sit there and not get frustrated. If he has an ear infection, you get the antibiotics and he takes them and it gets better. You know, I'm never gonna let, if he had an ear infection, I'm never gonna let it get to the place where he loses his implant. Like, yeah, come on now. And like, I have very competent respite and my mom and help. I'm gonna be able to go on my trip. I was able to go out last night. So I find, like, for me, it's impossible to not go to the worst case, but now I'm very quick to come back to the present. And so what is the task at hand? Like, what do I have to do today? So that first day, it was like, okay, let's see if he's gonna eat, because if Thomas doesn't eat, that's a, like, you know, that's a sign that he's not feeling well. Got sushi, he ate 4 rolls, boom, went to school. Then I took him to the walk-in, doesn't have an ear infection. Yeah, it took 3 hours, but that's what my phone's for. That's what the YouTube's for Thomas, you know? So for me, it's like, okay, we're gonna go to that worst place, but we're gonna quickly come back away from it and be like, what can I do right now to combat this? And come back to the present moment, come back to the present moment. Oh, my shirt is real fuzzy. Did I mention I just got up from a nap? So coming back to the present moment, and also like being realistic, like what can I do? Also, like if we have to go to the walk-in, and then what? Then you have to sit at the walk-in. If he has an ear infection, then what? You get the antibiotics. Like, then what? Like, knowing that no matter what happens, you are capable of dealing with it. And yes, none of us like to see our kids sick, and yes, none of us like to see our kids in pain, but we got this, we can handle it. And if we can't handle it, there are experts and doctors who can. And so being present, like actively being like, what can I do here? And sometimes what can I do is we're gonna lay down, I'm gonna put some thieves oil in the diffuser, he's gonna lay there beside it, I'm gonna let him watch Elmo while I work. Like, this is, you know, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. So being present and like eventually getting to a place where you don't go to that worst case scenario. Like for me, I go to that worst case scenario for about 0.5 of a second now, and then I come back from it. And you know, the anxiety is the what if. And so the quicker you can get away from that, and the quicker you can get away from like worrying about all these things that will probably never manifest. And if they do, knowing you got this and you can handle it, or there's experts and doctors who can help you. So just really like bringing yourself back. And also for me, because I'm a single mom, it's a matter of what can I take off my calendar? Like if, you know, if I have to take care of Thomas, like, you know, I was supposed to post a photo for a client and I couldn't post it for a few hours. Like, okay. No one's gonna be upset because your child is sick. Oh, this nap hair. So that really helps me. And just knowing that like you're doing the best with what you can at the time. And I really find that by me staying calm, I 1000% believe that that helps Thomas, whether we're at the doctor or we're in Emerge or we're at the walk-in clinic or when he was getting his implant. Like, I was so mindful to keep my own self relaxed, because kids pick up on that. So if you're upset and you're freaking out, like, do it when your kids aren't around. Like, I mindfully like take deep breaths, make sure my blood pressure is like normal, and calm tones and soothing tones, and singing to Thomas. And sometimes it's just like singing to bring myself down too. Like when Thomas was first diagnosed, you can see this, tattoo here, this love tattoo, I kept just saying over and over and over to myself, there is only love, there is only love, there is only love. All I can do is love him and lovingly make decisions. There is only love. And let's love for yourself too. Like, who cares if the laundry's done or if you've got takeout or there's dust in your house. Like, really being kind to yourself and basically just like focusing on the task at hand and letting a lot of other stuff go helps too. I also like to remind myself that there are people who want to help me and there are people who could help me, or there are people I could call on. Like, if I'm stuck at home with a sick Thomas, I know I could call a friend and be like, hey, can you get me some groceries? Or like, can you bring us dinner? Or yeah, I'm just gonna order delivery for the, you know, second night in a row or whatever. Like, just bringing it down to the basics, if that makes sense. So I hope these tips help you. I know it sounds really simple, but it's not. It's very mindful. It's a constant work in progress. And just remembering that you're not alone, asking for help. I am terrible at asking for help. And so that's something that I constantly work on. And allowing yourself to feel the feels. That's been a big lesson for me since Jeremy died. And since, you know, going through everything with Thomas's health. It's okay to be worried. It's okay to have anxiety. It's okay to be upset. But then what you choose to do with that, like really doing your very best to not let it spiral into this like huge anxiety vortex, because that's not helping you, that's not helping your son, that's not helping anybody, right? Yeah, so I hope that helps. If you have any other like follow-up questions, just leave them below. This is a topic that I never would have thought to talk about, but then I got so many requests to do it, which these are my favorite videos to do. So thanks for watching. Please lace up and become a marathoner. Subscribe to my channel. Life's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And in that marathon, people are gonna get sick. You're gonna have to deal with things, but it's how you like mentally choose to deal with it that can really make all the difference. At least that's been my experience. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.